Welcome to the ARC. Nationwide, the ARC has grown to be one of the largest charities in the United States of any type. Certainly the largest organization in the disability community. We have 675 chapters, more or less, in 48 states and the District of Columbia. There are more than 6,000 individuals serving as board members of chapters of the ARC. There are more than 124,000 individuals serving as staff of chapters of the ARC. And collectively, our chapters serve more than 1 million individuals with disabilities and their family members each year. Whether you're a new board member, a new executive director, or a new member of the staff, I'd like to welcome you and tell you that you have just become part of the oldest and largest civil rights and services organization for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Throughout our 60 years, the ARC has been involved in every major development in public policy that impacts the lives of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. The ARC was involved in some of the earliest litigation that helped individuals with disabilities who were confined to institutions win their freedom, and supported them as they transition to live in communities of their choice. We were instrumental in the enactment of education reforms, first in the courts and then in legislation, winning the right of individuals with intellectual disabilities to receive a free, appropriate public education in their local schools. We gained passage of Rosa's Law, which takes the word and phrase retarded out of public laws and replaces it with intellectual disability, because people with intellectual disabilities simply didn't want to be referred to by that pejorative term any longer. While the ARC has been very involved in public policy advocacy in the halls of Congress and in the White House, our state and local chapters are also involved in advocacy at the state and local level. We've also grown to become the single largest provider of programs and services for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities all throughout the United States. Our chapters are involved in providing housing for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, as well as supporting individuals to live in their own homes. Our chapters operate businesses that employ people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and also support individuals to get and keep jobs in the competitive workforce. Our chapters are very involved in supporting families who have a student with an intellectual or developmental disability in the school system to get the services and supports that they need to be successful in school. Pretty much anything that you could think about that happens during the course of an individual's lifetime is something that the ARC is involved in somewhere around the United States. One thing that we're particularly proud about is the work that we do with self-advocates. Chapters of the ARC all around the country support groups of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities to learn how to advocate for themselves on the issues that are the most important in their lives. The ARC, at its core, is a civil rights organization and is committed to protecting and promoting the rights of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and that's job number one. Chapters of the ARC are also a pretty diverse group. We have chapters in the most isolated rural communities throughout the United States, as well as in urban areas. Our chapters range from very, very small. We have chapters that are still to this day all volunteer organizations with very little in the way of financial resources to speak of, to on the other extreme, chapters that are very large, sophisticated, multi-service social services organizations with budgets in the hundreds of millions of dollars. One of the things that keeps us all united is that we have a common mission: to promote and protect the human rights of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and to actively support their inclusion and full participation in their communities throughout their lifetimes. Another thing that really ties us all together is the fact that the majority of chapters of the ARC are led by or substantially involve parents and siblings and family members and individuals with disabilities themselves in governing and leading their organization. One of the things that's really important to understand about working for the ARC is that individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families are really depending on you. Our board of directors and all the staff at the national headquarters of the ARC are committed to your success as a board member or executive or staff member of the ARC. We are committed to the success of your chapter and the work that you do to support individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities in your community. You play a critical role in the ARC. It is your energy and your dedication and your hard work that is what enables the ARC as an organization to achieve the vision of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities being fully included in their communities and living the types of lives that they would like to live. We'd like to thank you for becoming part of the ARC's family.